Because Christmas comes on a Sunday this year, we are blessed to have 4 full weeks of Advent. From the Sunday after Thanksgiving, November 27th, until Saturday, December 24th, we have the longest Advent season that is possible. The last time we had this complete season of Advent, because Christmas was on a Sunday, was in 2016. But the next time, it will not occur again until 2033. Now, here's a riddle for you. When is a week only 16 hours long? It will be next year when Christmas falls on a Monday. Next year, we will have the shortest Advent season possible, with the 4th week of Advent beginning on Sunday, December 24th, and lasting only 16 hours, from midnight until 4 p.m. in the afternoon, when the vigil of Christmas begins. This year gives us the luxury of having an extra full week to get ready for Christmas, which makes decorating the church a lot less harried. Now today, we are at the exact midpoint of this holy season of Advent, with 2 weeks behind us and 2 weeks left to go. We are poised on the downward slope to the great feast. And no matter how long the Advent season is, this third Sunday is always very special. It is called Gaudete Sunday, the Sunday of joy. The third Sunday of Advent is the Sunday when we light the pink candle on our Advent wreath, and when I put on this glitzy vestment, which we wear just twice a year, once during Advent and once during Lent. The very word Gaudete, the first Latin word of the entrance antiphon for this Mass, means rejoice. It is the imperative, the plural imperative, which means everyone must rejoice. It is the plural, everyone, not just some, not just a few, but everyone. It is the imperative, must, not just could or should or might, but must. Gaudete means everyone must rejoice. We are all being commanded by the church to rejoice. Well, that's all well and good, but what if I'm not in the mood to rejoice? There's probably nothing more depressing than being told to cheer up, huh? How can you be joyful with all that's happening? Doesn't the church know what's going on in the world? War in the Ukraine, divisive politics in our country, random acts of violence killing innocent people, an economy in free fall. Yeah, there sure seems to be a lot to be happy about, isn't there? Well, maybe we have to look again at the original audience for the scripture readings we have just heard. Our first reading invites the Israelites to be filled with joy and gladness, and to express that joy in singing and dancing even when everything around them seems desolate. They're still in exile, away from their homeland, and they had yet to see any concrete signs of restoration. But Isaiah encourages them, even before experiencing any anticipated healing or rebuilding, to enter into the ruined city singing for joy. Sister Barbara Reed, a scripture scholar, captures the spirit when she writes, "This is not a naive refusal to see things as they are, but an expression of hope that springs from a deep conviction that God's saving deeds in the past will be manifest in the present and the future as well, for those who have eyes to see." The very expectation that the parched wasteland will yield fragrant blooms begins to bring it into being. St. James, in our second reading, uses the example of a farmer whose very livelihood depends on expectations yet to be realized. In the in-between time, from planting to harvesting, the farmer must be patient. But patience does not mean inactivity. It takes both the hard work of the farmer and the gift of rain, over which no one has control, to produce a successful harvest. And then in the gospel, we have the unusual question of John wondering whether Jesus was in fact the one for whose arrival he had been preparing. The only time in the scriptures that we hear John being happy was when he jumped in his mother's womb when pregnant Mary visited Elizabeth. He spent his life railing against the political and religious authorities, and now he is languishing in Herod's prison, wondering whether Jesus is, in fact, the one whose coming he had been sent to proclaim. After all, wasn't one of the signs of the Messiah's arrival the release of captives? And here he is, still imprisoned. All these readings we have heard were directed to people living in difficult situations. Their world and their lives were falling apart, and yet time and time again, they are being told to rejoice. In all these settings, Isaiah's Israel in exile, the farmer waiting for crops to come forth and not fail, and John still captive in prison, the faithful are in difficult, even threatening situations. And yet it is precisely here that words of hope need to be heard. Words of hope that will inspire joy. Not a giddy, goofy, silly, superficial joy that makes us want to sing the song, "What Me Worry," but a profound joy that is so deep that it keeps us standing and moving forward in spite of everything we might be facing. And that brings us back to Gaudete Sunday. Halfway through our Advent journey to Bethlehem, we pause to rejoice. Why? Because the Lord is near. While we may not feel inclined to sing and shout and leap for joy, there is no reason for us to live lives devoid of joy. Whether things are going the way we would like or not, the Lord is still in our midst. Trials and sufferings are never goods in and of themselves. However, they can be an opportunity to open us more deeply to the presence of the God who is always with us. In spite of all we're going through, this Advent must be a time of joy for us. Not primarily because we are anticipating celebrating the anniversary of the birth of Jesus, but because God is already and is always in our midst.